Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 307 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. So thrilled that you are here with me today as I am talking to my friend, A.K. Mulford, about their stratospheric rise to incredibly exciting things. And in fact, as this podcast releases, I am actually with them in a little mini retreat up the coast. So I have just done a long Q&A bonus episode. I'm going to leave my update and all of that stuff in episode number 306. Episode number 307, we are just going to jump right into this interview because, like I said, as we speak, I'm probably typing on my laptop right next to them as the four of us in this little cottage eat incredibly good food. And I do hope that that is what is happening. So let me give you a little bit of a bio for my friend, and then we're going to jump into this fantastic conversation and you're going to freak out. Okay. A.K. Mulford is a best-selling fantasy author and former wildlife biologist who swapped rehabilitating monkeys for writing novels. They are inspired to create diverse stories that transport readers to new realms, making them fall in love with fantasy for the first time or all over again. They now live in New Zealand with their husband and two young human primates, creating lovable fantasy characters and making ridiculous TikToks at A.K. Mulford author. And you should totally go follow that. Please enjoy this fabulous interview with my friend. Well, I always say this, but I could not be more pleased to welcome you to the show today. Hello, my friend.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my God, I'm so thrilled. We have been waiting for this. Will you please share your name with us and your pronouns?
Sure. My name is Allie, and I also go by A.K. Mulford, and my pronouns are she, they.
Thank you, Allie. Okay, so shall we go into our backstory and tell
Yes.
how we ended up here? I was just thinking about this morning that we showed up to the same Romance Writers of New Zealand meeting on the same day for our first time. And you were just so cool. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, is she really that cool? Like, cause she seems amazing. Could that be possible? And then
I was thinking the same thing, and I felt like I kind of koala beared onto you.
I felt like I koala beared onto you. And
We're gonna
Anne
be
and
friends.
Moira.
I've decided. Yes. Like the four of us were just like, you meet those people and you just kind of hook into them and you kind of are like, I'm hanging on to you. I don't know if you feel the same, but I want to be your friend. So
That's the way I've always made my best friends, is by knowing immediately. I always talk about when Sophie Littlefield and I first met, and it was at an RWA meeting in 2000. It must have been 8, because I had just sold my first book in a 3-book deal and I had no friends and I'd done it all by myself. And I went to this meeting and she sat next to me and we were talking a little bit and she put her hand on my arm and she said, oh, you're mine now. Now we're going to be friends. And she's still, one of my closest friends. I talk to her pretty much every day. And that's what we did at that meeting. And
we did. We're like, I'm claiming you.
Exactly. So that must have been in November, or must have been in November.
The one before Christmas. So
Before Christmas.
Yeah, November.
Talk us through where you were. You guys stick around for this whole interview because your mind is going to be blown. But let's start where you were in your writing career at that point in November. When we met.
Yeah, let's see, I had just released my second book in the 5 Crowns of Opera series. And I was taking a break between that book and the third book to write a different book for my agent to pitch to publishers. And so I was trying to scramble that together. My goal was by Christmas and promoting the main series that came out. The first book came out in August. So I had 2 books out then and was trying to promote those and write and pivot secretly to write this other book.
So, and when I mentioned you the other day on a podcast 2 weeks ago, I mistakenly said YA fantasy. I knew they weren't YA. I don't know why that came out of my mouth. These are like high fantasy books. And you had, talk to me about your community before then. Had you just been kind of writing by yourself and putting these out by yourself and getting your agent by yourself? And talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, the only community that I had was in the BookTok community, which I found the most amazing group of authors and writers and people. And there's just so much kind of generosity of spirit within that community. So I found a lot of people for the first time who wanted to talk about plot structure and, get nerdy with me about writing books. And it was so beautiful and validating. But then in my day-to-day life, walking around in New Zealand, I really kind of felt almost sheepish being like, oh, well, I'm writing books and, nobody really wants to talk to you about going deep into the art of writing a book. And then I signed up with RWNZ, and that's how I found you and all of our friends. And yeah, it was so just wonderful to have people kind of go on that journey with you and be able to share, and they really get it. Our partners, I think you can say like some statistic, oh, I'm this in the Kindle store, or I just had this hit this milestone, and
they
kind
go,
of go,
yay,
okay,
what's for dinner?
cool.
What
Yeah.
would you
All
like some
right.
ice cream? Is this
Yeah.
sometimes Lala's like, is this a celebration or are we upset? Like, because she can't quite
Right.
tell like what my voice is doing.
I prep now. I prep my husband. I'll be like, so this is a really big deal. Pretend you know who these people are. and and here we go, kind of like the classic Kiwi bloke, just kind of like very like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
gosh. So before this, what brought you to writing? How long have you wanted to write? What's your
Mhm.
story?
I mean, my mom's here visiting right now, so we're reflecting back a lot on my
Ah.
early childhood. And, she still has boxes in her house of just like notebooks filled with
Didn't you say
stories.
she was going to bring you something? Did she bring you a notebook or something? Or am I making that up?
No, she still has some in her house. I have some here that I brought over when I kind of was moving overseas, that I just kind of instinctively brought with me, like my little like writing journals and, story like idea books. And I have a quote journal of just like inspiring quotes from when I was like in 6th grade. And,
Oh, that's
you know,
adorable. I have one of
the
those too.
the
With
first one
yeah.
was Tolkien quote, the
Oh,
first quote in that book. And I'm like,
let's put a
looking at,
pin in Tolkien because I want to refer to him again later. And
yeah,
you know
yeah.
why.
Yes, I do. Yeah. So funny how life comes in full circle that way. But yeah, I've always wanted to write. I think my first 2 dreams, and I'm pretty sure this is on video somewhere when I was like 5 or 6 years old, was to be an author and to work with animals. And so I've can definitively say I've done both.
Will you give us the quick summation of how you've worked with animals? Because that's completely
Yeah,
fascinating too.
sure. So I studied primatology and worked in wildlife rehabilitation in a few different countries, in South Africa and in Guatemala. And then when I moved over here, I worked in wildlife conservation. And so I spent a good chunk of my 20s living in the jungle and raising monkeys.
That is and now you're raising 2 little ones of your own. I was just reading a
Yep.
diary, and I actually don't remember this, but probably 10 years ago, apparently I was at my dad's house and we heard I'm older than you, so we heard an old audio recording. We don't think we have any videotape of me as a kid, but in this audio recording, I'm like 5 years old and I'm talking about being a writer, and I'm also telling my sisters how to knit and purl, and they're obviously like not doing it, but I'm being bossy and telling them the right way. So yes, I think some of us come
That is so
programmed.
you. It was in there. It was there all along.
It was
Yeah.
there just like for you. So now you're in New Zealand. You have 2
Mm-hmm.
little kids. They are, I want to say
Mm-hmm.
3 and 5, but I might be wrong. 2 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that is a full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Yeah.
managed to put these 2 books out in the Akrith
Mm-hmm.
um, trilogy, or is it going to be bigger than that?
Series. It's 5-book
It's a 5.
series.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the first book, The High Mountain Court, was written at 4 a.m. at the kitchen table because I didn't have a desk and I needed to get it in before my kids woke up for the day. So it was very much one of those sort of pandemic stress, like needing that moment. And it was kind of like my morning meditation in a way. Like I always felt like the day was set up well if I got those words in first before everything, and some days it would only be 200, 300 words before unexpectedly my 3-year-old, then 2-year-old would wake up too early, or something. But I felt like I chipped away at it a little, and I'm not a morning person. at all.
And you
But
wake up at like 4, right?
yeah. Now I try to make it till 5, but I still usually wake up between 4 and 5. And yeah, because I know it's the quiet time when nobody else is
Mhm.
awake. And I think that was the first sign to me, like how badly I wanted it, when you're willing to do those things and it doesn't
Yes.
feel like you're not reaching for the alarm and not trying
Mhm.
to find excuses not to do it, especially for me with ADHD and like,
Yes.
not very good with routines. Being able to consistently do that, I knew like, okay, this is something that I really, really want and want to put all my energy into. So, and
I
find a way
actually
to do that and parent full time.
oh, I literally bow to people like you. I literally bow. So you wrote this book, and then what did you, I realize I'm asking a lot of leading questions that I know the answers to, but I don't know the answer to this one. Did you want to go indie publishing to start out with? Is this book how you
Mhm.
got your agent? And like, tell me that story.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I knew I'd been kind of like a self-publishing hobbyist for many years because I'm number one input,
Oh, yes.
talking about the strengths. I wanted to read every book about self-publishing and listen to every podcast and was just thinking, what would I do if I were to do this? And for me, I knew I wanted this to be a 5-book series, and I knew there were a lot of queer stories within this world that I wanted to tell. And I had a lot of doubts of whether I could sell, being an unknown author, 5 books to anyone.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make sure that I protected the diversity of my characters. And so I really kind of had a point to prove coming out with the first book and being like, this is the story I'm going to tell. And that first book really took off and did really well. And that was how I found my agent. It was kind of serendipitous because I was thinking about finding an agent for sub rights and for, other things at that point, starting to look at like, I need somebody who knows how to do this to help me. And I had a few different agents approach me, and Jessica Watterson, my agent, contacted me, and it was like one of those
Oh, I didn't
like
know that she contacted
perfect
you. It
moments.
wasn't even a query
Yeah.
letter. It was like her reaching
No,
out.
I know. I
Yeah,
always feel bad saying like I
no,
never
that's
had to
fantastic.
do
We
that.
want to
Yeah.
hear these stories. But I really
Yeah.
want to go back to something you just glossed over. You're like, yeah, then put up the book and it started doing well. You didn't put up the book and it started doing well. You did so much work in order
Mm.
for the book to be put up and do well. You had it edited and copy edited. You studied the market. I am also number one input, as you know. You studied the market. You knew what covers were doing well. And then
Mhm.
you contracted like the prettiest covers of them all and put them up there. Were you already on BookTok talking about books
Oh
before
yeah.
you were publishing? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I hopped on Book Talk in March
Mhm.
of 2021. Well, 2022. Wait,
No,
what year are we?
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like
you haven't been on very long,
6 months before
only a little bit
the
more
book
than a
came out.
year.
Just over a year on Book Talk, and just started sharing what I was doing and asking questions and connecting with people. And for me, TikTok was just the perfect social media platform because I'm kind of goofy and I like making jokes and I like just being real and connecting with people and building relationships with
Yeah.
people. And other forms of social media felt very distant and kind of like showy. And I'm
Mhm.
not a graphic design, look how cool my smoothie is person. Like I can't do that well. And so I just wanted to just goof off and make silly TikToks. And so I found other people who loved that and loved fantasy books. And it was kind of this perfect marriage of those two things, is like silly people with relatable content and just wanting to be goofy and have fun and love reading fantasy. So I really kind of found my people and then got into that groove and put out my first novella and my newsletter and started getting
Because you were
people
doing
on
everything
board
right.
that.
Because you
Yeah,
were just like
because I'd been
ticking off the
thinking about it
boxes
for
because
10
you've been
years.
studying. So you put out a novella, you're
Yep.
capturing people for the newsletter,
Mhm.
and then the book came out.
Pre-orders and
Oh, you
yeah.
even did pre-orders on the first book. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of, well, because at the time I was thinking my TikTok was doing well, and I didn't know if I would be able to reach those people again. So my TikTok videos were doing really well. And I wanted a way to capture that audience when I had their attention. And I didn't know if they would come back in 2 weeks when the book launches or however long. So I wanted to, make every video count and kind of convert people over to a click and a button. And so, so I had the pre-orders up for book 1 and then kind of launched it from there. Yeah.
Do you have an autoresponder inside your newsletter?
No.
Like, do you have a sequence set up?
Oh yeah, like an
Yeah,
onboarding
that's what I meant.
sequence?
Yeah, an onboarding sequence. Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah. So I have I'm simplifying it now. It started to get too complicated because I have so many freebies attached to it that it was like, and this and this and this. So now I'm making it a little simpler. But yeah, I have a welcome email that kind of welcomes them into the thing, and then they get some free stories. And at the end of each of those free stories is other things they can go do and click and buy and things. So it's kind of, I come to it with an energy of, I want to give people as much as they want and not anymore, so it's like, I offer it there, but it's not like, do this, buy this, get this. It's like, if you want more, it's here. And if you want this is good. And this is as much, you'll get 1 email a month from me. Or if you want more, come hang on TikTok. And, trying to like just provide them with just the right level of engagement that they want from me, and not being like aggressive to get more than they want out of it.
Girl, I don't think you could be aggressive if you wanted to. Like, I just
don't have that personality.
But you don't have that personality, but you have the number one. I'm going to go sign up for your newsletter in 1 second as soon as we hang up. And I encourage other people to do this too, because what I love to do is follow people who are doing everything right, because I don't. But I like to watch other people do that. But the other thing I want to say is that your authenticity just shines through on TikTok. Like, you are just you. And there's a lot of authors out there, and I'm going to include myself in this, who are doing TikTok. I actually think I like it probably 10% more than a lot of authors. Like, I do have fun with it. But you can tell that there are a lot of us out there because we should be, and also I have the passionate love for TikTok, and I can blink and 4 hours have gone by. So I get that. But whenever you cross my TikTok stream, which is a lot, you probably come up more than anybody else, because I more reliably always try to comment, because I want to see more of your beautiful face on my feed. You are just being you. You're just being you there. And it's working. So can you tell us about when the first book came out? How did it start out with like force? Just give me everything. Did it start out with 4 sales and you're like, I sold a book? Or did it like go big right away?
I remember when the pre-orders started happening, I made a TikTok kind of, because, my favorite TikToks are like the reveal-y TikToks where there's like a sound or a thing. And I'm pretty sure the Shania Twain song, Man, I Feel Like a Woman, or was that? Was trending at the time. So I had a thing that said pre-orders are up, and it was the intro, like, let's go girls, and just pointed to the pre-orders are up. And that day, I think I had like 20 pre-orders. And I was shocked. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And so then I made another video being like, I can't believe it. And I'm just so grateful. And thank you everyone who did it. And then by like the end of that week, there was like 200 pre-orders. Yes. Yeah. And I remember looking at my husband and going like, I think this is going to be something, like this might be a thing. And just getting like the kind of like, I feel like the roller coaster has started clicking up the hill, and it's gonna do something, and I don't know what, but I don't want to, count my chickens and things. And,
and that's one of those moments too, where he wouldn't understand. He'd be like, oh, good for you. Yeah. Excellent. He's thinking I have 200 sales, at maybe making $4. I can't remember what your book was priced at, but like maybe I'm making $3 or $4 a book. He's like, yay, $600. We're gonna get a nice half of a weekend in an Airbnb. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when the book came out, and I was like, it's in the top 1,000 of the Kindle store.
Oh my God.
And he was like, well, it'll be I don't
Okay, for
get,
those of
you
you
know, because
new
he has no concept of what
for
that
those of you
means.
new to this kind of speak, the lower ranking you get in the Amazon store, the better you're doing. And if you're sub 1,000 in books, money is flying into your account. Like just
Yeah. So
the
I think
yeah.
it was 8 months that the High Mountain Court was in the top 1,000 of the
Holy
US
shit.
store. Yeah. Pretty much until I took it out of KU and went
I mean, but
wide.
you did a lot of advertising. So I really want to talk about like what what you poured into advertising, because people talk about like, well, I'm in the
Yeah.
top 1,000, but I'm spending so much money on
Yeah.
advertising. So what's really the
Yeah.
bottom line, Allie? Can you tell us?
I'll tell you, it was $3. $3 on one Facebook boost, because I just kept seeing this boost button and was like, okay, well, I wonder what this does. So
Well,
I
that
pushed
probably
it.
was it. I'm sure
It
that's
was
what it
that
was.
was all of the 100% of the success. Yeah, I see those videos saying you have to spend this much money on ads to be successful, and I'm just kind of sitting on my hands thinking like, not always, not I
That
just
was your spend.
yeah.
That has been your spend so far.
That was
$3.
$3. Yeah, is how much I've ever spent on ads. I mean, yeah, because I knew that ads could always change. A lot of things were happening on some of those platforms and like Facebook and all of those things. And I knew I didn't want to rely on that as my go-to method and then have the floor moving out from under me and
Because the floor is
scrambling. And
always
so
moving. Yeah.
yeah. And for me, it's always been people. I come from an engagement background too. I used to work in like visitor engagement and how to connect with people and train other people to, give talking points and share about conservation and things like that. And so for me, I've always come from that wanting to just connect and nurture those relationships and then welcome more people into that. And if they want to be there, and if they don't, that's okay. And not be like the kind of guns blazing salesperson,
Yeah.
because that just suits my personality. And there's nothing wrong with the other ways. But for me, it's just how I like to be. And I remember when I finally gave myself permission to say, you can be successful doing it this way. It doesn't have to be this other way. And you can kind of come in with a more gentle approach to marketing and more about investing in these, 1,000 true fans sort of.
Yes, which you have been
Yeah.
doing so brilliantly. And I will say also that none of us can write a crappy book and put it up there and expect this kind of success. Your writing is beautiful. The thing about, friends who are writers is we never get around to reading each other's books because we're all really busy. But I started reading the first High Mountain Court last night, and I was like, oh, I mean, I knew she could write, but she can really write, and I'm really enjoying it. So let's just put that. We accept that we must be creating a remarkable product that moves our readers emotionally. And you did that. And I don't know how deep you want to go on this, but I know that you had like a monetary goal for yourself and you were hoping to hit it. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah, sure. So my first month, I was hoping to hit 1 million page reads on Kindle. And then I always had very regulated goals, and it kind of just turned into this flow chart where I had a 5-year plan, but it was like, if I reach here, I know this, you're laughing because that's so me. If I get here, I'll do this. If I get here, I'll do this, and then this. And so I got to the end of my 5-year plan in like 6 months. And had to scramble, but my goal was to be a 6-figure author. It was like my goal, and I got there just in January, so just over
it's like
6
10
months.
months, right? 6 months. Oh my God, 6 months is
when
you hit it. So this is what I remember. This is what I remember, and I'm going to embarrass you, but we're sitting outside Moira's house and we have these coffees that last for like 4 hours, and they're just, the time is gone, and then we all have to leave because we have to do things, but the time is gone. So you were thinking about maybe, with this agent who had approached you, thinking about maybe selling a book traditionally, and you're like, oh my God, am I losing my indie roots? I'm an indie writer. And we were telling you, like, just try it. You can always write another indie series if you want to, if she sells it. And I don't remember who asked you like, what would you want to make? And we were just talking about this the other day, and you said, oh, I'd love to, need like $25,000 a book. And we're like, no, let's rethink that goal.
Staged an intervention for me. You're like, absolutely not.
Absolutely. You will not accept that. And you already knew that. I think you already knew that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to have our hopes. It's hard to mitigate those.
And it's the tall poppy thing in New Zealand too, of we don't want to be like,
explain tall poppy, because Americans haven't heard of
tall poppy. Yes. Yeah. So like tall poppy syndrome is the kind of tall poppies get cut down philosophy. You don't want to be kind of showing off or too braggy or high up, and it's kind of really looked down upon here. And so for me, I get very like kind of introverted and shy about sharing successes and things, even though I know if I were me of a year ago, I would love to have heard that story from another author.
Especially from a beautiful, wonderful person, instead of like I knew I was going this way with my genius.
Right.
You're the opposite of that. So this is what we want to hear. So, okay, go on.
Yeah. So I, where was I going with that?
Literally don't know. Thing. Like, I do not remember. Two ADHD people in a room. Yes,
I know, right? This is how we always are. But yeah, I thought, anything would be great, and to like get something out there, and maybe this book will reach someone. And so when it went on sub, I was like, okay, well, maybe it'll be like 6 months. We might hear from someone.
And I remember you saying like, I just, the reason I'm interested in this is just to get a little bit more exposure, like to readers that I can't reach on, Amazon page reads kind of thing. That's what you were looking for. So you went on sub, your agent takes it out. And then what happens? Tell us the story.
Like 2 days later, I get a message at like 4 a.m. and I'd just woken up, and I thought, in my sleepy brain, I thought it was some like spam message or something, because it just said call me in all caps. And so I blocked the number.
You did not. I didn't even know that. That's hilarious.
And then I got an email from my agent being like, call, I don't know if you saw the WhatsApp, but call me. It's like, oh, sorry,
blocked her. That's so funny, Allie.
So I switched it off and put some clothes on. I'm still in my PJs. Called her, and she was like, okay, you're not ready. Like David Pomerico from Harper Voyager wants to talk to you about this new series. And I was like, okay, we're thinking like this much. And I'm like, me, and my brain exploded. I was like running around like a little, chicken with my head cut off, wanting to like go run around telling everyone. I was like, Harper Voyager. And I remember messaging you, and I was like David, and you're like, not David Pomerico.
I said, not David Pomerico, and he works with Pam Spangler Jaffe, and like she is, I think she's Pam Spangler now. Like she's everything. Like that would be the best team for you. Oh my God. Yeah.
And so I was just, like, oh my God, what do I say? I don't, just very, very like super excited, I can't play it cool. I have zero cool in me,
I would love you. That's one of the best things about you. I also have zero cool. That's why we connect. I would love to hear about that conversation when you were talking to David and what you said about your characters. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, most of it, because he has the like whole spiel down of like, this is what we do, and these are the things we're thinking. And so had already pretty much answered all of my questions before I even had them. But then at the end, and because you hear so many stories, and for me, the biggest thing about why I self-published the series was to protect my characters, and particularly my queer characters and my non-binary characters. And
not to mention your characters of color too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And my neurodivergent characters and my disabled characters, like I didn't want anything to change about them and who they represented for me in my life and my friends and family. And so I said to him, I really want to make sure that the characters don't change. And, that's the one thing that's really important to me, because on the one hand, I love the idea that more people can see themselves in the fantasy world, and being with someone like Harper Voyager, they're going to be able, so many more people are going to be able to discover these books and feel represented for the first time in these worlds. And so I kind of said that, I really
Like,
want
are
to
you going to
protect
fire
these
me now? Or are you
characters.
going to hang up on me?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, that's the deal breaker or something,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
my head, of course. And he pans the camera down, and he's wearing a shirt that says "Protect Trans Kids," and I wanted to cry like right then and there, because I was like, this is it. This is like who I should be with, and this is like the best place I could, trust my books and my stories and my characters with. And seeing all of the diversity within the authors and the stories that they tell in Harper Voyager too, like I was just like, oh my gosh, what a blessing it would be to have my books attached to
Along with
this house.
Tolkien and Janelle Monáe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back
I
to Tolkien.
mean,
I just
when
went
I
so
saw
red, like
that,
with tears and like emotion. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, when I saw the Tolkien, they have new covers coming out for like the new Rings of Power series, which my partner works on, and like we live in New Zealand, so we're all attached to the world of Tolkien. And my pet hedgehog was in the Hobbit films, and so it
Literally.
just
Yes.
literally, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just, how wild is that? It was what a awesome thing. I wish I could run back to the kid who wrote that Tolkien quote in
Yes.
their
On
quote
that
journal for
day.
inspiration. Your books
Oh
are
my
going to be there.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And let's go into money now. They
Yeah.
offered you a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
talking we're talking seven figures, and we're talking
Yeah.
more than seven figures. We're not going to go into exact details, but more than seven figures. Can you tell us how that feels, please?
I still am in shock. But I just started crying, because I mean, for me, my goal was to make a living with my writing, and to be able to have my stories reach people, and so the idea that I could, our family was like trying to find like childcare and schools for our kids, and a house that could set us both up to have offices and things like that. And all of a sudden that just became a possibility, like, and what a life-changing thing that was for us, and how much, I'm gonna get emotional, I'm gonna start crying, but like it was such a big thing for us, and how much we could improve our lives. And I remember waking my husband up being like, this is just, you won't believe what's just happened. And so yeah, that was a pretty surreal moment, and that was really hard not telling anyone.
For like months we have known. You did tell us, thank God, on text, and I think I was the same as you. Like, I misread some of the numbers. I'm like, oh my God, that's so much money. And then somebody else says, no, did you realize that's like per book? I'm like, what?
Yeah, well, because so first we this new trilogy that I wrote, the first book, and we went out on sub with, was the one that we first talked about with them, and signed on with them. It's called the Golden Court series,
and none of those were published. These were
no.
This was the book you wrote on spec and put out on sub.
Yes.
Okay, so let's make that clear. That's what they were offering on. And
then they said, we'd really be interested in the Five Crowns of Opera series too. And I was kind of like, oh, well, like that would be awesome. We'll see.
But complex. Like, you already had the
that.
2 books up, and you had the third book up for pre-order, and basically it would have already been launched by now, right? Wouldn't it have launched last week or something?
2 weeks before the release date. And so I was really panicking about it, thinking like, do they really want it? Are they serious? Or I'm such a kind of don't celebrate until the ink is dry sort of person. And so when I remember when we got the call about the offer for the Okrith series, and my agent was just like, you're not ready. You're not ready. You're not ready. And so now to be doing my current series, the 5-book series, and this brand new series with them. And yeah, because I remember writing the first book in that series, and telling all of our writing friends, like, I kind of started it off with this character one way, and then they became like a gender fluid character throughout the story. And I thought, I don't know, well, nobody, like, no publisher is going to want this story about a gender fluid person kind of realizing that stepping outside of the gender binary and things like that, set amongst a fantasy romance, but I thought, I got to do it because this is so,
You
I
followed your heart.
relate so much to this character and what it feels like to be something outside of, just, quote unquote, just a woman, but
you are,
like,
let's make it clear, you are queer, non-binary, who is neurodivergent. Like, this you are really representing who you are, and it's people want to read it.
I wanted that to be, what this character was. And so I thought, this might be a little risky, being like the first traditional book I put out there. And here we are. I'm so glad that I didn't second guess that. But I kind of looked at all of my other stories and all of the other characters I write, and I thought, this is what I do. This is the, I don't think I could write the kind of all straight, all white, all,
that is done so well up until
stories.
now for other people. That wouldn't be you. You would be,
it's not my voice, and it's not the characters I want to see. And I feel like there's already some really great examples of that out there, so people can find that and feel sated with that. And so for me, I wanted to be like looking at all of my friends and going, come on, like, you're a part of this world too. You get to be not just the side character, but the main character of these stories, and get to drive the story and be the hero. And that's what I wanted to tell. So
also that transition was really, really fast, because last night when I went to buy your book, I was like, oh, I don't even think I'll be able to buy High Mountain Court, because it's not being self-published anymore, and Harper Voyager has it now. It's just up there. I was able to click it, and it's from Harper Voyager. And also, for the nerdy people listening, you got to keep your reviews too. They swooshed all those 3,500 or whatever fantastic reviews over to this. Oh, it just gives me so much to push that buy now button.
Awesome. I know. I was so glad that we were able to kind of keep that, and that momentum, and that kind of proof of the story,
and social proof.
And so the new paperbacks for the first two books are coming out in September, a month before the launch of The Rogue Crown, the third book. So
they're moving fast. They are just,
I know,
nailing it.
It's awesome.
And that means
you're excited.
That means your fans aren't having to wait that much longer, just a few months. And they are so excited for you.
Yes. And I have such an international fan base too, who wasn't able to really have access to these books very easily. And now it's just so exciting that they can go to their local store or online, and they can find it and get it in their country. And it's not this huge kind of trying to like circumnavigate all of the international systems of distribution. And so I'm super excited that it'll be easier for them to get the books, and for new people to find them. So
how has all of this affected your I'm gonna ask you a question, but then I'm gonna tease you. How has all of this affected your writing process? But I will say to people that, like, on that first week where Allie's texting us all, she's like, and I'm just not getting my words done. I'm like, really? No, you're not going to get your words done when these kind of messages are coming through, when you're having these let yourself off though.
When you're waking up at 4 a.m. each day with like
more money
and this thing and
so, but since then, how has it felt?
It's been really good. I definitely am still in more like admin mode. I think my brain goes back and forth from like creative mode to admin mode. And because all of the news has just started to come out, I've been in like hype mode, like telling everyone and, trying to share all the news and things. And then I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get together and do a little mini writing retreat and kind of switch back into creative brain.
I need that.
But I have been cobbling together the words, the words, but it hasn't been like as much of that kind of quiet focused time. So I'm trying to get back into that kind of flow now. Yeah.
That kind of flow will come back. And also this deal has alleviated some of that pressure. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
worry about the third book. Will it do as well? It doesn't really matter. You're creating a backlist now, and you're getting paid
Mm-hmm.
well to do it. And like we keep assuring Allie is like, and God forbid if none of the Harper Voyager books ever sell, which will not happen. You just create another indie empire because you're putting your heart and your soul into this, and you know what you're doing. You're doing
I
such a
always like
beautiful
to have
job.
10 plans of
Yeah,
action.
I know you do.
I always want to be able to pivot into a million different things. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be this series. So many people love all the side characters who are getting their own books in book 4 and book 5 in the series. So I'm just excited to be I've been sitting on with these ideas for them for so long, and I'm excited to get to the writing, because that's the bit I love the most, is the writing time. So yeah.
What advice would you give for the new baby writer who is sitting where you were maybe, a year and a half, 2 years ago? And
Oof.
and I don't even want advice for like, how do you make $1 million writing your books? I want the advice that is, how do you write the book that satisfies your heart and that makes you feel good?
Mm. I think, this is a very simple tip, but
Yeah.
it's stood me well. And that is, it's a filtering question I always ask myself when I'm
Mm.
feeling stuck. And that is, how do I want to make people feel? So if
Mm.
I'm in a scene where there's just people traveling from one place to another, and it doesn't seem like there's any heart to it, I'm asking myself, how do I want people to feel? Do I want them to be excited? Do I want them to be intrigued? Do I want them to be sad? Do I want them to feel yearning? And then once you kind of have that, it's almost like this layer that you add on top of it, and it kind of changes the tone and the feel and the colors within the story. And then you go, oh yeah, okay, I got it. And you can kind of hook into the meat of it a little more. And I ask myself that with social media too. How do I
Mm.
want to make people feel with this post, with this story, with this thing that I'm sharing? And so it comes from the engagement background, but it's a question I'm always asking myself, and it does filter out a lot of the stuff that didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is a simple answer, and it is so complex, and I'm literally just applying it to the book I'm writing now, because I think it's one of those things that we forget. We get into a voice in a
Mhm.
book, and for me, I will speak for myself, I keep writing the book in that voice. And so I do have, in revision, I noticed like, oh, these 7 scenes all have the same feeling tone. How can I change that feeling tone, and what do I want it to do? And then that's one of those fun
Mm.
revisions where you get to play with sentence length,
Yeah.
and instead of saying, bright, you say deep. And what does that change in terms of the
Mm.
tone of the scene?
Mm.
Those kind of little tiny things, which are so fun.
Yes. I love that. Even just the description of like the setting, it can be more intense and
Exactly.
aggressive, or it can be beautiful and flowing and romantic. And I think that kind of pulls me back into, if the someone sitting with a coffee in my book, what
Mhm.
do I want them to be feeling reading the scene? The only thing I never want them to be feeling is bored. Anything
Yes.
else, every other spectrum of emotion I want to have in my stories, I want there to be laughter and tears and
Yeah.
excitement, and yeah.
That's one of those fun things that's fun to play with too. I usually do an exercise in my revision class where I give them it's a setting in a hospital that Jennifer Weiner wrote in one of her books. And then I ask them to rewrite it in a different tone. Like, what if this was
Mm,
being witnessed? Like, what if this particular, it's just a random boring scene in a hospital cafeteria. But what if this person, their sister's having a baby? Or what if their mother's about to die? What if they just got a diagnosis that is dire? Like,
mhm,
how will the words change? How will the janitor look? How will the 2 women wearing the jeans speaking? How will that description change?
mhm.
And it's so fun to play with.
It's like those little clips on that where they change like a
Oh, yes.
rom-com movie trailer to like a
Yes.
thriller or a horror movie. It's just by change,
Yes.
and we do that all the time with everything in related to our book, all of our
Mhm.
metadata, like from our cover to our blurb to how we engage on
Mhm.
social media. Like everything we're doing is kind of saying, this is the tone you're going to get, and this is the vibe you're going to hit with the story. And so,
Yes.
yeah, just having that sense of what am I delivering, and promising that, instead of going like, you're going to get this, and then being like, oh, psych, you got that. It's just,
And
you know,
and we will make clear to people too, this is something that we normally do in revision. This is not, if you're feeling like you're writing
yeah.
a book right now, anybody who's listening and you're not hitting that, of course you're not hitting that. We do our best with the first crappy draft, and then we put all of that
Mhm.
juicy goodness in later.
I mean,
Um,
try just letting it go and letting go of your inner critic, I think is such a easy thing to say and a very hard thing to do.
it's like the hardest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll fix it later. Just keep going and get the words out. And yeah, and I think that takes like a level of discipline and practice and just keeping doing it. And over time it gets easier. But every morning when I write, at least once I have to tell myself like, you'll fix it later. Just keep
This
going,
is, this is my post-it on my computer. It says, fix it tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow's even worn off. And like I always say, it's a lie. I'm going to fix it when I'm in
Mhm.
revision, but I need to
Yeah.
lie to myself and tell myself I'll fix it tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're my friend. I'm so glad that
Mhm.
you have entrusted me and our friends to go with you on this journey, because I hope that it has made you feel even more excited, because we have so much vicarious. I literally got like a joy, like I had to fight off a joy migraine the day of your thing, because just like I would if it were my news, like I was just so happy. So
Yeah. I
happy.
mean,
I know what this means.
I'm a big gratitude person, and like
Yes. Oh
gratitude
my
is
God.
super
Thank you for
important
saying
to me.
that.
And it's just one of the things I'm most grateful for, is having these friends that I can
I
share
know.
this story with and go on this journey with. And whenever there's news, you're the first people I want to tell and go, oh, guess what, because I know you get it. And that there's none of us have any kind of competition with each other
I don't think
either.
we
We're
have
just
the bone at
all,
all. Like there's not even
no,
a sliver of it.
it's just joy,
Yeah.
there's just so much joy. And it's the best feeling getting to, like, whenever any of us has news, it just like, it feels like I've done it. I get
I
this
know.
buzz of just like, this is so incredible, I'm so excited for you. So I love
But
that, and I'm so appreciative of
thank you for
having that.
mentioning the gratitude thing, because this is something that you made. And everybody, this is another thing that you can buy from Allie. It's the Author Gratitude Journal. And I'm holding it up on the YouTube video. It is so beautiful. And you can just go grab it. But I use it. You can see I use it every day when I set, and this is the way I use it. And I was telling you guys the other day.
My
Yeah,
little
there's
tabs.
yours. Yes, we have the same tabs. What I really like is that you have, like, at the end of the month, you get to do the reflections, which means you
Mm,
read back over the whole month of your writing gratitude. And this is an author gratitude journal. I do a lot with gratitude
mhm,
anyway in my journal, etc. But at the end of every day, when I am done working, the very last thing I do is I pull out the gratitude journal and I write something I'm grateful for that day about my author journey. And of course, it's, often you guys or what, and that is the last motion of my work day. And then I get to stand up and walk away with always a good feeling. So thank you for doing
yeah.
that.
Aw,
Will you please tell people where you can be found and where we can sign up for your mailing list and all of that good stuff?
Sure. My website is akmulford.com, and you can find me online on social media. My TikTok is akmulford author. And yeah, you can find me pretty much anywhere from there.
I think you're kind of a good gateway TikTok person. So I think that everyone listening should just go make a TikTok account. If you don't have one, follow Allie and then watch what they do. And then you will be sucked into the fun of the joy of book talk.
That's how I'd like to be. I think that's, authentic to my personality. And I think it's great when you find people who find their groove. But for me, I like being joyful. I like putting exclamation points at the end of
yes.
my sentences. And I want people to feel warm and welcomed and excited, and that they're not going to get anything too heavy on my page. And it's going to be kind of this moment of respite and joy and goofy silliness where it's okay
You
to just have fun.
you do that so well. You do it perfectly. And also you've earned trust. And if, like, on the day, I've seen a couple of yours that are more serious. And on those days we all go, oh, well, what's she saying? Because I want to
Yeah.
hear it, because I trust this woman. So thank you, Allie. This was
Thank you.
fantastic.
It was
I'm
lovely
so
chatting
glad
with
that
you.
I got to talk to you about this. We've been saying, when can we share the news?
Yes, I know. When now? Yes, I'm so excited I get to tell everyone now. It's been a while where I've been sitting on it, and now I'm just like ready to just go shout it from all the rooftops. And I've just been so glad that you've been on that journey with me.
Well, I get to say again, congratulations.
Thank
And thank you, darling.